The next Star Wars show, Ahsoka, is almost upon us. And here on the channel, we have been covering the different leaks and rumors for the show, but a lot of that was spread out over time, and some of the older leaks have now been debunked. So in this video, I want to go over everything we know about the Ahsoka show according to the most recent and accurate leaks and rumors. There will be potential spoilers in this video, so spoiler warning, don't watch this video if you don't want to know anything about Ahsoka, because they have kept a lot of the secrets for this show pretty close to the chest. However, I will just say, as somebody that follows the leaks and rumors like pretty ravenously, there's still a lot I don't know about Ahsoka, and there's still a lot of mystery left in the show. So take all of this with a grain of salt, but I do think I'll explain a lot of context and break down some things that are in the show for you in this video. So first up, let's address the structure of the show and the basic plot of Ahsoka. And a lot of this is coming from Making Star Wars. There are other leakers and scoopers out there as well, but most of it's coming from Making Star Wars articles. And I'll try to denote when I'm talking about somebody else's scoop or when I'm adding speculation just on my own end. So what's the basic plot of Ahsoka? Like, what's going on in this show? Well, the show is about the heroes trying to stop Grand Admiral Thrawn, and the villains are trying to bring Thrawn back. Thrawn and Ezra went to a place called the New Beyond after Star Wars Rebels. And this place, the New Beyond, is apparently where the Night Sisters originally come from, and it's also outside of the known galaxy and incredibly difficult to actually get to. According to the leaks, Morgan Elsbeth, who we meet in the Ahsoka episode of The Mandalorian Season 2, is a Night Sister, or maybe even a Light Sister, who works for Grand Admiral Thrawn. The planet of Corvus, which we see she is stripping of resources in that Mandalorian Season 2 episode, is apparently a planet that has unique resources, which Elsbeth is using to build a ship that can actually go to retrieve Thrawn from the New Beyond. Because again, whatever the New Beyond is, it's incredibly difficult to get to. So even though Grand Admiral Thrawn is in the New Beyond, he has agents and people working for him in the known galaxy. And those people are doing various things in the shadow, and some of these people are even members of the Imperial Remnant, and we see that Shadow Council in The Mandalorian Season 3. Now, the structure of the show is really interesting and uncovers some of the mysteries about this narrative. So apparently, there's going to be two parts of Ahsoka, and there will be somewhat of a time jump between the two parts. The first 4 episodes are mostly going to be about Ahsoka discovering the plot of Grand Admiral Thrawn and trying to warn the New Republic of his return. This will involve the Morgan Elsbeth character, Baylan and Shin. It will also involve Mon Mothma, the Galactic Senate, and Hera, who will be lobbying to the Republic to take the threat of Grand Admiral Thrawn seriously. And although it's not in the leaks, I speculate that we might also get a lot of the scenes with Sabine Wren with her long hair during these first 4 episodes. Now, at episode 5, the show's going to shift, and we're actually going to go into the New Beyond. Morgan Elsbeth, Baylan, Shin, and perhaps others will be going into the New Beyond to retrieve Thrawn, and Ahsoka and Sabine and Hera and the Ghost crew will also be going into the New Beyond to try to stop Thrawn from returning and to try to retrieve Ezra Bridger. And though it's not in the leaks, I actually speculate that we might see a version of the epilogue from Rebels Season 4 in Episode 5 of Ahsoka. Making Star Wars reported that the epilogue happens in between Episodes 4 and 5, and that's when that time period is. But we've seen the mural, we've seen Ahsoka coming to stand before Sabine in front of the mural, and it feels very similar to the scene you get in the epilogue. On top of that, Episode 5 is Rosario Dawson's favorite episode. It's also rumored to include Loth Wolves, and maybe even the Loth Wolf that became Kanan, or rather the one that Kanan became after he died. And so I think what you might see in Episode 5 is Ahsoka going to recruit Sabine to go into the New Beyond and find Ezra, which is really what happens in that Rebels Season 4 epilogue. I also kind of speculate that in the first 4 episodes, you still might get some Sabine and maybe even some Sabine and Ahsoka, and then they're going to go their separate ways until Ahsoka discovers the secrets of where Ezra is actually at in the New Beyond and her own destiny, and then she's going to come back to Lothal as Ahsoka the White and recruit Sabine. Now, from episode 5 on, apparently the show is going to get very crazy, and they will reunite with Ezra pretty quick. They're then going to be hunted by Grand Admiral Thrawn, his resurrected stormtroopers with all the weird golden Kintsugi-like stormtroopers. We'll talk about that in a second. According to the leaks, we know that Baylan and Shin will also be in the New Beyond, and they'll be hunting down Ezra and Ahsoka. We've got a lot of crazy descriptions of great lightsaber battles and incredible fights that are going to be taking place in the New Beyond with all of these characters. And so the back half of the show has a lot of mystery. We're not really sure what all is going to be going down in those episodes, but we do know how it's going to end, or at least part of the ending, because apparently the show is going to end with Grand Admiral Thrawn succeeding in entering the known galaxy. This is described as being somewhat of the Empire Strikes Back of the Mandoverse, where the villain will actually win, and this will set up Thrawn as a big threat for the known Star Wars galaxy. So that's all the structure and plot leak stuff, but now let's talk specifically about the characters. First up, let's talk about Grand Admiral Thrawn. Now, really interestingly, Grand Admiral Thrawn is supposed to be something like a Lich Lord in this show. And as the leaks report, Thrawn and Ezra were sent into the New Beyond a long time ago, and they have been there ever since. Thrawn apparently is going to come into contact with the Night Sisters in the New Beyond, and we're not entirely sure how this happens, but the Night Sisters end up working with Grand Admiral Thrawn with the goal of leaving the New Beyond and going in to the known galaxy. Perhaps there's some kind of prophecy that those Night Sisters have that they think Thrawn is fulfilling. Either way, the main point here is that Thrawn is going to be gifted with a whole fleet of resurrected stormtroopers that these Light Sisters are going to use like golden magic to bring back to life. He will also have bodyguards and Force users such as Baylan and Shin, who are apparently Jedi that survive Order 66 and go into the New Beyond. I think we'll have it explained what Thrawn does in the New Beyond, how he encounters these other Force users, how he builds up this army and makes the allies that he does, and he's obviously able to still get communications into the known galaxy as we do set up the return of Thrawn and the Shadow Council that, again, you see in The Mandalorian Season 3. Thrawn also has a new bodyguard named Enoch, who apparently looks like a golden Destro from G.I. Joe with a lot of samurai influences. There's also a cyborg slash droid character named Karnist. Next up, let's talk about Ezra Bridger. Now, Ezra is said to be in the New Beyond, but apparently he's separated from Thrawn a long time ago. We also know that Ezra will be studying the way Force users use the Force in the New Beyond, likely learning a lot from the Night Sisters or the Light Sisters. We know this because there are apparently fights describing Ezra Bridger as using a Force-like karate and throwing Kamehamehas or Hadoukens with the Force. Making Star Wars even describes scenes where Ezra is going to be fighting with this Force karate, taking out a ton of stormtroopers, while Sabine Wren fights with his lightsaber at his side. Why Ezra Bridger stayed in the New Beyond and what he learned and where his dark side light side quota are at, those are all big mysteries. We just don't know. Next up, let's talk about the character of Ahsoka, because this is the Ahsoka show, and Ahsoka is going to go on quite the journey during this series. The beginning of the show is said to take place pretty much right after her Mandalorian Season 2 episode, and she's going to continue to try to discover what Grand Admiral Thrawn's real plans are. But she also has a lot of guilt about walking away from the Jedi Order and walking away from Anakin, because she's now dealing with understanding that Anakin turned to the dark side and became Darth Vader. And there's a big sequence in the World Between Worlds where Ahsoka will be shown multiple versions of events that have happened in Star Wars' past. And this is where you get the scene of a younger Ahsoka standing over the dead body of Kenobi and then fighting Anakin on Mustafar. And in that scenario, she would best Anakin and cut him up and set him up to become Darth Vader. And essentially, you're going to learn through the World Between Worlds that Anakin was always going to go to the dark side. That was his destiny. And so that should help to alleviate some of the guilt of Ahsoka and maybe even get the audience to understand the deeper meaning behind Anakin's fall to the dark side and why it was inevitable. I think Ahsoka is also shown different events where she kills Grand Admiral Thrawn and Ezra doesn't even have to chase him out with the Purgle and go into the New Beyond. And yet I think she's still going to be shown that she would have been brought into the New Beyond regardless. And that is one of the biggest mysteries in the leaks, because I believe it's being implied that some cosmic darkness is coming, and Thrawn is just at the head of that darkness right now. But even if she had killed him, somebody else would be at the head of that darkness, and that darkness is really what Ahsoka is there to stop. A lot of people speculate this could be the Grisk, this could even be the Rakata, it could be some bigger enemy besides Thrawn happening out there in the galaxy. So who knows for sure how all of those interesting pieces and things we don't fully understand are going to fit together when we finally watch the show. But I think just going over all of these leaks, there are some incredible things planned for this show. It seems like a really important piece of the Star Wars mythos, and it's going to set up this big Dave Filoni movie that we're getting in the next couple of years. Let me know what you think about all these different plot leaks, rumors, and things that are said to be happening in the show. And if you have any questions about anything we went over in this video or just anything nerdy in general, come on by the live streaming channel. I stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.